Hello and welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast. BuiltOnAir is a regular podcast where we talk with everyday people and learn about the amazing things they are doing with Airtable. Today's podcast is sponsored by OpenSide, the leading solutions provider for Airtable customers. Check out openside.com to learn more about their products and services that can take your Airtable usage to the next level. Use promo code BuiltOnAir to receive $20 towards any product purchase. On today's episode, we speak with Andy Wingrave, automation and Airtable enthusiast. Andy's experience comes with over 10 years of digital solutions and problem solving, and apps like Airtable and Zapier have largely informed his work. He is a certified Zapier expert and has even worked with Airtable themselves to develop a use case for the web clipper block, which he displays in one of the many bases he's published to the Airtable Universe. Andy is often found on the Airtable Forums helping others to develop their bases and solve problems. Like many Airtable users, he considers it a fun hobby to design base templates for others to use. He also runs a blog site, Saastronomical, where he's published articles and how-tos on automation. Andy shares a few projects with us today, and it's immediately evident how much care he puts into the organization of his workspaces and bases within. One project of note is his Music Finder base, which shows us how the back end of an app such as Spotify might look if housed within Airtable. A table of events lists possible interactions one might have with an app, such as a song being played, while a table of event properties shows us what we might want to know about that event, such as the artist or the plan the user playing the song belonged to. Learn more about Andy by checking out the show notes for links.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Camille, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I wanted to start by saying I love the name Saastronomical, and I want to know if that was your idea.
Yeah, it was my idea. I have this habit of picking or trying to find cool domain names and never doing anything with them ever. Saastronomical was one of those things. And it just came about because mainly because I was trying to find I just got a new job and I was going to be away from my girlfriend, so I wanted to create her a card and send her a card when I was away on the road. And one thing led to another, and I was like, I've got this domain name. Maybe I'll create her a website and stuff like that. So actually, from what that domain name that was just sitting there, became something that I decided to turn into a website and then turn into a Squarespace page. So yes, that's the story of it. And it turned into a very nice Valentine's card, which I can show you. I'd be happy to show you. If that's of interest.
That is adorable and not what I was expecting. Saastronomical obviously being a pun or a portmanteau or both for SaaS, software as a service, because nowadays Saastronomical is something that helps people with their Airtable in Zapier into Integromat connections.
Sure. Well, so we've got Bob Marley playing in the background. I don't know whether you can hear that.
I can't, and now I'm sad that you mentioned it. I cannot hear it.
Well, he's telling you everything will be all right. So don't worry. So yes, it is. I've been toying with the name and how to kind of use that. I think what's really been interesting, and this is something that I started to learn as I started to talk to some customers, was the name itself sounded really grand, and people were really worried that by working with me, I was going to just outsource everything and that they weren't really going to be working with me. So I'm toying with the idea of just going by my own name at the moment, but either way, the website's still functional and my other website's still functional as well.
You can't get rid of Saastronomical, no.
I don't know. We'll see. I think it depends on the market that that's out there, and and stuff. I've got like this really bad habit of like, and everybody does it. Everybody in our field does it. I think like has this like racked with self-doubt a lot of the time. So like I'll come up with this really good idea, or like what I think is a really good idea, and then I'll go a couple of yards with it, a couple of meters with it, and like maybe even a kilometer with it, and I'll be like, right, that's a really great idea. We're going with it, we're running with it, and then at some point I'll be like, no, screw it, I don't like it, and then we'll see that nothing ever comes of it. So I've got lots of side projects, lots of things like that happen and ultimately become nothing because I've got so much I get to that point where I'm like, no, I'm sick of this already. Surely everybody else is sick of it and they've not even heard of it. So I need to get over that. And I'll take your advice and not kill Saastronomical off then.
So I first saw the name Saastronomical on the Airtable Forums actually before I saw the website. And I remember thinking to myself, my brain didn't quite read it correctly at first. And then when I went back up, I was like, I don't know who this is, but I love it. So now I get to record a podcast with you. That's great. So how long have you been in the kind of field of database consultancy?
That's a great question. So I have spent a lot of time in my life, very kind of focused on customer success and that kind of stuff at software companies, and I've been really fortunate to work and presently past to work at companies that are just like really like doing amazing, really exciting things. But one of the things that I really I was always kind of running with, and the thing that lights a fire in me is like solving people's problems, solving like operational problems specifically. Like if you've got a really boring task, or you're trying to organize 50 people, or like all of that kind of stuff, and you're trying to like report on it and do administrative stuff, like solving those problems is like not only what I think I'm probably good at, or at least I hope I am, but like what like I get up for in the morning. I'm like I would like at my companies that I'd worked for, like I would get up in the morning and like get in early and do this stuff, and then I would work in the weekends and do this stuff. But I could never like forge a path of like somebody's gonna hire me to just do this cool stuff all day that he really loves. Like it always got to the stage where I do the stuff, I do like I like operationalize things and get things ticking and humming, and everybody would be happy, or like grumbly in some cases if people don't like change. But in general, I've always kind of loved that side of it, but never been able to forge a job out of it. So that's like why I started posting in forums and Zapier, because like these are problems that I really love to solve, building complex like Airtable bases and understanding the software behind it. Like I'm really fortunate that I love working with Zapier, and I'm a Zapier expert, and I love working with Airtable, and I get to consult on Airtable's bases and figure out those problems. And so far I've like found that that's far more entertaining to me than like playing a video game or something like that, right? Like I could get up in the morning and play what's a good video game that Fire Emblem, like is the kind of stuff that I like, or I could like help somebody solve a problem, and the helping somebody solve a problem is far more satisfying to me. So in short, I've been doing it about like 10 years, but like only recently started to like or only in the past year started to really ramp up my activity on forums, ramp up my activity working with customers, and actually trying to solve the problems like that.
Well, that's great. There's a certain amount of joy I feel when I help people out, but I always do the little problems that can be solved with just, a more experienced knowledge of writing formulas and that kind of stuff, and how related records work in Airtable and all that. But you go the extra mile, of course, with your consultancy and helping with more complex problems. And you use both Zapier and Integromat, correct?
I use Zapier and Integromat. I'm like kind of automation to agnostic. So I really, really love the team at Zapier. So like the community team are lovely, really nice people, and everybody I've worked with at Zapier is really nice. So like and they've got an amazing product, and the support team's great. Shout out to Tim and in Zapier because he's really, really great. But I also like I've just been working with the tool for like 5 years, so it's become what I use, and it's become what I'll always like recommend people use. It's really great because you can write code in it, and I know that in a world of no code, that's like scary to some people, but for me, it's like if you're solving like Zapier can do really basic stuff, but it also gives you that power to do really complex stuff. So big fan of Zapier. But also I've been really tinkering with Parabola recently. I'm really interested in it. Haven't like got anything to like talk about there, but I have been like tinkering, and I'm really excited about what they're doing because they're taking a lot like a one step further. Integromat I love. Like I'm a very visual person, so like being able to like manage the bubbles in the way that you can is really cool. And they've got some like extra Airtable features that Zapier doesn't have, and they're cheaper. But I think like that's because they just don't have that like the length of time in market yet. So such an exciting space, and I really like, for me, the automation part of like automating what I can do and what I do in my daily life, and like what I do for the, like my customers and my workflows in general are just really exciting to me. So I plan to be using a lot more of them, but like there's newer players in the market as well, and it seems like the space is really starting to become bigger, like much bigger than it has been in the past like 5 years. And it doesn't feel like it like middleware is boring, because that's kind of what it is middleware. It just feels like it's a really exciting space. So I love all the tools. It's like choosing your favorite child. I don't have any children, so I don't know how hard that would be. I've heard it's hard.
Well, I have my clear favorite amongst the mix, but I recognize the strengths and weaknesses of all of them, except for Parabola, because as you mentioned, it is a little bit newer than the other two, and I haven't personally used it. But with all of these different middleware coming out, helping people connect not just Airtable to itself, but Airtable to all these other different web apps, how do you feel in the future as you help more and more people with their automation? Do you think that the middleware app side of the equation, do you think those will get more flexible in terms of how they approach their connections to other software, or do you think they'll kind of leave it up to the middleware to provide those connections?
It's a really good question. And the reason why I think it's such a hard question to answer is because like one can't exist without the other. And like you can't have, like, if you're an endpoint, if your app is ultimately like a trigger or an action or an input or an output, like you need people to be using that. So it's in your best interest, whatever software you have, at some point to integrate with Zapier, at some point to maybe integrate with Integromat, Parabola, all of these kind of things, and like actually build a connection to like using your own API, your public API, or kind of like deeply embedding Zapier into your app. And what's really interesting about that is a lot, or at least I see, like having used Zapier for a long time, is like a lot of companies will get like nothing more than a proof of concept. Like they'll get it past beta and they'll launch in the store and it'll be somewhat useful. But like as we've all found, I imagine, or at least I found every day of my life, like those integrations are sometimes really limited, right? Like they'll only do something and you're kind of like, oh, but I need to get a person's like badge number or reference ID, but I can't get that because like you're only giving me the event type or something like that. Like it's like really limited in what
Sure.
companies are giving it. But the funny thing is, like, I don't feel like that there's a lot of incentive at the moment for those companies to make their app all singing and all dancing in Zapier. And I'm going to like actually shout out one that I've found has done that relatively well, and I hope they continue to do that, is FreshBooks. They're not paying me to say that. I wish they were. But the reason why is like I was trying to use their app, like, and I hate accounting apps. There's Xero, there's QuickBooks, and they're all big and huge, and they do accounting stuff, and that's cool. Like they're really nice. Like QuickBooks and Xero are amazing apps for what they do, but like accounting isn't something that lights a fire in most people who aren't accountants. Now,
What?
FreshBooks, and I was like, really? No, what?
Really?
I don't think so. I've not heard of anybody. If you tell me, if you like, show me a non-accountant who loves accounting software. Or
When I find one, I will let you know.
tell them to get in touch, please.
Okay.
No, so like FreshBooks, I was like trying to find something, and they just did like a really good job of it. Like they have line item support, they have like all of these cool things that like make it really functional, right? Like when this updates, send something to Zapier. Like it's just like out of the box, it was magical to use, and that was like huge for me. It was like maybe one of the first modern apps that I've seen just be so like functional. Now, this all kind of ties back into Airtable because like everything else runs off Airtable in my background. So like being able to make Airtable work with other software like that through Zapier was super exciting to me. But to answer your question in a roundabout way, like what I found other than like some apps are like companies will just build this kind of proof of concept, put it in the app store and forget about it because they're getting a lot, like Zapier's huge, they've got 5 million users, and they're getting a lot of publicity from that. So even if they get a customer from just being listed in the store, it's probably worth it for them just to list in the store. But I don't think that's enough. I think like you need to invest in how you're connecting to Zapier, because eventually you can fool your customers once, but like eventually they'll get upset, right? Like it happened to me with my website provider, who I won't mention. But like for me, I heard about my website provider on Zapier, and I went in and I was like, oh man, you can do this and you can do this and you can, it's just great. Sign me up. And I signed up, and then I was like, right, now it comes to the point where I get to like do all automation stuff, and it was just a broken mess, and it was really upsetting to me. And that's a really bad customer experience. And I think like that's not something you want, because ultimately if you're not investing in Zapier or investing in any other automation tool, like your customers are going to have a bad experience. And tying this all back to the point we're here is like, this is what made me go all in on Airtable, like fully, just like I was just sold the minute I started using Airtable with Zapier. I was like, this does everything I need it to and more. Like sure, there's some limitations, but like those limitations are like when you're pushing the boundaries, the ability to get started on Airtable and Zapier at the moment, or like even a year and a half ago when I started, was just incredible. Like it helped me build a full solution for my entire team at the time. I mean, for honestly, maybe just cut that. It helped me. It's helped me solve a lot of massive problems, and it's been really exciting to get Zapier and Airtable connected, because once you do, you're really seeing the full potential of Airtable, and doing it in a way that's like efficient and like structured, and like just what the moment you create your first one, for those of who are listening that maybe haven't investigated like a tool like Zapier or Integromat, the moment you like create your first automation based off an Airtable base, based off like based off a field turning to a different value, at a certain point, like you've unlocked something really special, and that's super exciting for me.
It's exciting to me too. It's exciting to me because at the time we are recording this, Airtable seems to be pushing a bunch of native features which help with bridging the gap to automation. There's still a very clear need for all the tools like Zapier, Integromat, Parabola, but there's more and more little things that you can accomplish within the app itself. And I like that change for Airtable just because the barrier to entry is so low for Airtable as a whole. It's the user-friendly version of a relational database out there, and it's supposed to be the everyman's database, or that's how I view it. And so the more little things that you can accomplish, the more room you have for your big picture, your big ticket items, the full automation things that would require a third-party app.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're totally right. I think like what I'd love to know, and like it'd be interesting to know if Airtable ever go down this path, is like I've actually got to the stage where like I've created products for myself, products for others based on Airtable, and that's kind of the functionality of it. Like it allows creating proof of concepts or even proper products at scale. I'd love to know like if they ever think about how that would work at like a product level. Let's say like you've built something in Airtable that's really cool. Do you need to migrate that? Like right now, if you want to productize that, you're looking at like you're looking at the ability to be able to create an amazing proof of concept, but like still if you want to bring that to market, you're still going to have to either hire a developer or develop it yourself, like and push it into like a MySQL database and like give all of your individual customers instances to that database and that kind of thing, which is kind of like a really huge opportunity, but I don't know like what their roadmap looks like in terms of doing that stuff. It'd be really cool to run products off of Airtable and like monetize them, but maybe people are doing that and I don't know, but
I don't know either. My zone for my perspective on how Airtable is used is because I spend so much time in the Airtable forums, more centralized around it's like small business owners and like people who are hobbyists and just need somewhere to hold all of their data and that kind of stuff. So I don't see the enterprise level customers, if you will. But that's the other point. It's used by a lot of different people for a lot of different uses. And because of that, it has to remain flexible. And part of the ways you remain flexible is making yourself available to these third-party apps, which help bring in all of these connections from all of these different web apps that do different things. Like I myself have no use at all for Salesforce, but many people do. And that's the whole point of these different types of connections.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's sad that I'm not going to say it. Move on.
Are you going to talk more smack about accountants?
I'm going to talk more smack about apps. I'm not going to.
Okay. If you won't do it, I won't do it. So do you want to jump into the base you want to share with us?
So this is a screen. This is actually my live one, so I won't go too far to the right. But here you'll see. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to give you the background to this, and the reason why I wanted to share it was basically to like show how I accidentally created a product that saved me money. Now that's a headline, right? Like
I wish I could accidentally create a product that would save me money.
That's like a YouTube clickbait title, right? Want to save money accidentally? No, I don't know. Like there's like 100 titles you could use, but this actually genuinely did save me money accidentally. And it was like, it's a product that doesn't exist. I feel like it should. If somebody comes up with this product, then like we've got the recording date. I can be like,
yeah,
I created that. I don't want to create the product, but if somebody's interested in developing the idea, I'm super keen on it, because it really does save me money, and that's what you want products to do. You want products to save you time, or save you money, or like give you some happiness probably, and like a few other things maybe. But saving time and money are really good like examples of good products. So I was bumbling about, and about 2 years ago, maybe about a year and a half ago actually, and I remember Christmas time actually. This is a really like an honest to God story. It was Christmas time, and I was like going to the shops. this is a terrible story. Going to the shops, and I have a Creative Cloud license. I forgot all about it, but I needed to buy some presents for my girlfriend. On the shops, and on the train I was like, right, got £500, and I'll buy her like a jacket. She really wanted a jacket at the time, and stuff like that. And anyway, got off the train and got a message from I got my emails. It's like, your Creative Cloud license has just renewed, and that'll be £500 or whatever it was, right? I was like, oh, so I've literally got no money to buy my girlfriend a Christmas present because of my inability to manage my time and my life and know when my subscriptions are coming up. So what I did was, like 2 months later, after I apologized and bought her something modest, and got her something nice at my next pay date, I decided to just shove everything that I own into like everything that I pay monthly, everything that I bought ever, licenses, everything into this subscription Airtable base that allows me to like categorize things. So like upcoming mandatory renewals, I don't have anything, but like basically I categorize things on a star level. So like the priority, as you can see, bartender is not a priority for me, but Keyboard Maestro is like just above that. Like, these are all little productivity tools that I bought, but luckily that's a lifetime license, and that's the lifetime license. So these are all just things that I bought. I hope there's nothing embarrassing in here. I don't think there is, but like this is just but like here's the thing. Like Alpha is like super high priority. Like even though I've got a lifetime license, and I bought my lifetime license 3 times from Alfred, because like there's no such thing as a lifetime license. Is a fallacy. If you ever think you're buying a lifetime license to something, you're not. They're just going to come back in 3 years and ask you for more money. But Alfred is worth it. They can keep coming back and asking me for more money because they save me so much time. And that's another productivity tool that I'm really keen on. But anyway, here's the base. And how this accidentally saved me money was that I created a Zap off of this, and the Zap was really simple. It was just like when like the expiry date, so like when there was a view, so like, yeah, this upcoming not mandatory renewals. So there's filter where, and the key reason it says non-mandatory is like if it's less than 4 stars, right, or 4 stars or less, because if it's 5 stars, I'm going to renew it anyway. I'll probably be aware it's coming out. And if it does come out, it needs to come out because it runs my life or it's really important. But if it's less than 4 stars, I might want to think about it. Now, fast forward 6 months into my life after I built this, after I created the Zap just said, when something comes into this view, send me a text message. And this is when it's expiring next month. And it sent me a text message. And I had an app, which I won't name, coming up for renewal that I really just hadn't used in about a year. Got a text message and was like, oh my God, I need to cancel that subscription right now. So instead of it auto-renewing, I was able to come in and cancel that renewal straight away, saving me £110 or something, whatever it was. And that's the story of how I accidentally saved money with Airbase, Airtable, and this base here, and yeah, it's still saving me money. Every month I'm getting a text message of like what's coming in, the subscriptions I don't want to renew, because we have so many in 2020. We have so many subscriptions, right? Like, yeah, they're just 32 of my active ones, and like when I met my girlfriend, I was a Tinder Premium subscriber. It paid off, but I didn't need that any longer, and I didn't need it. Certainly didn't need it to auto renew as soon as I'd found somebody I wanted to spend a lot more time with. And again, I got a text message to just say, "Hey, probably don't need your Tinder Premium or Gold or account anymore. Go in and cancel it." And it's just saved me a ton of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that it's a good wee accidental product I created.
Yeah. I wish I had done this before. It's happened to me a couple times with services that you only pay once a year. And
Yeah,
it's never, I always tend to sign up for services on the most random day possible in the middle of the year with
yeah,
absolutely no connection to when I actually would need that service.
yeah,
So I'll get my bank statement the following month and I'll just be like, oh yeah, that's right. I have this thing I use maybe twice in the
yeah,
year and don't
yeah,
particularly need. So something like this would be very useful.
yeah.
Um, so you have a field for a status called active. So do you keep the ones that you no longer use? I see
Yeah, I
that
keep
you
them.
do.
They're in no, but they're probably the embarrassing ones. Let me
Okay,
unshare my
you don't
screen
have
and
to
see
show
what I've
us.
got in there. See what I've got in here in the no section. Can I show you? That's fine. That's fine. All right, we can show you this. So this is the no section. So these are the
Mm-hmm.
non-active ones. But what you can see is like online dating,
Mm-hmm.
online dating, online dating. So you can see that I was a prolific online dater about 2 or 3 years ago, and at the more like I'm very fortunate to have met somebody through that, but ton of subscriptions that you probably don't need anymore after you get to that stage. So yeah, I do keep them, and they're just in there as a reminder for things that I might not was there's like also bills in here as well. So like
Mm-hmm.
here's like an old electricity supplier, but like here's the other benefit. Like this is so many benefits in that. Like how many times or like in your life have you like had like an old admin thing that you're like, oh, I need to find a number for that. Like my old gas supplier, like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what it was, but they ever came knocking and were like, you owe us 100 quid or whatever. I could be like, oh, like it's that account, this is my number, I don't need to like waste a bunch of time on the phone like
Sure.
or trying to find paperwork. It's got all of that in here, so it's super useful for me.
Yeah, that's actually great. I This is kind of related. I remember I bought my dad some software and we couldn't find the box, so we didn't have the activation code anywhere,
Yeah,
and it would have been nice to have somewhere to put it where he would never be able to find it, but I would if I
yeah,
had some place to put it. And I'm amazed I don't have an Airtable for this kind of stuff.
do it, it'll change your life.
Well,
It has
yeah,
mine.
of
And
all
like
the
what you don't
people
see
to
on
not have an Airtable.
yeah, I
What?
know.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to have something very similar to this sometime soon to
The
keep track of
funny
all of the
thing is
stuff I buy.
Airtable's not in here, I don't think, which is hilarious. And that's only because I have recommended Airtable to so many people. I think I've got like probably at this stage, if it's only me using my base or my workspace, I think I've probably got around 4 to 5 years of just credits for Airtable from like recommending it to people. And like, I mean, I honestly just like I've never come. Maybe it's because I've worked with so much bad software. I've worked with a lot of really bad software,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's like this has helped me solve so many problems across so many different like uh, types of situations that, and it just looks so good, it feels so good, it works. I'm just so like excited by it, and like, and I've now been using it a year and a half, and I've never been that excited about software before, and I think that's an incredible thing for Airtable to have, is like to have these created this thing that's like solving problems, saving people time. People like love using it, I think, or maybe it's just me, but I think people do just love using it.
Well, I would hope they love using it. We've made an entire podcast around
Exactly, right?
Yeah, so just something that came to mind is I feel like a base like this would also help in a little bit of help tracking your goals, because sometimes you subscribe to a particular service because you have a particular goal in mind, and once you've accomplished that goal, you don't need that service anymore. And being able to change the status from active yes to active no, I think you might get a little bit of, yeah, I did it, it's done. Yeah. Don't need it anymore.
You do, you're right. It's like that little dopamine hit that you're just like, yeah, you're out of my life. Yeah,
exactly. I get all of my dopamine from Airtable. So this was great. I love it. I just want to ask about, you have a field called period, and I see that it's a link to another table. Is there any reason you chose to do that as opposed to like a single select?
Good question. Yes. So I guess like one is like just for grouping the different like records to like know what I've got lifetime, but also like just to even like have a view on like what my monthly ones are. But then also like it allowed me to do a few things. Maybe it didn't. Maybe like what did it allow me to do that I guess I think it's like more just for grouping purposes. Like, do you know what? I probably could have got away without having period being another table. But in this circumstance, I made the aesthetic choice to do it. I think it's primarily aesthetic at this stage, quite honestly.
I'm sure there's a few different ways you could work about it. There's just extra data associated with link fields than there are single select. So I'm sure if you wanted to do something super crazy in the future with this, you could, because of the way you've set it up. I was just curious.
Well, I guess like the way that I had it before, or like at least the way that I envisaged it was like a monthly would allow me to like have like the number of like days that would renew, and then be able to run calculations off of that, like so I can actually build this into a proper budget for myself, so like I can start to bring those out into like what's my monthly expenditure, what's my like annual expenditure, all of that kind of stuff, and break it down into that granularity. I haven't got that advanced yet, or I haven't like had enough time. I mean, I think the beauty of it was just the fact that it was so like I didn't need to do an awful lot to create it. Like all I needed to do was just go like through my emails and add all the stuff in, and then like whenever I've got a new subscription, I just add it in using Airtable's web clipper. So that's kind of how I've managed it. But it's been really useful for what it is, but I haven't built it like much further on than just that basic functionality.
And that's okay, because sometimes you don't need something that has 1,000 bells and whistles.
Exactly. Well, I think like I have this problem of like always trying to do everything and boil the ocean instead of like taking things slowly. And this is maybe one of my most successful personal projects that like I just did a small chunk, and maybe I'll add a small chunk if I've got any use for it in the future. But like I got it functional. Like having functionality immediately is far better than trying to be like, I need to create a productivity suite of like everything to do with my subscriptions. Like just having that data in there and running a quick automation off it, like saved me £100, which is and probably even more so since then. So I think like just creating a quick proof of concept is sometimes just enough.
Yeah. It's important not to upsell yourself and constantly trying to get you too stuck in the weeds. The more you focus on the nit and grit of things that might not be super important for this particular project, the less time you have to spend on the actual project itself.
Exactly. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better myself.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us. This was great. I love that we mentioned Alfred. This is a side,
Yeah.
side
Big
observation.
Alfred fan.
Yeah, I love Alfred. It's.
Do you know what? I can tell you my best Alfred one is like, I don't know whether you do any web design or web development or like
I
even
used
just
to.
well, like, so how often do you need like lorem ipsum text, right? That like,
Can it
just
do
got
that?
Yeah, and then you're just like, there you go, lorem ipsum, and that's like, it'll immediately kind of populate your clipboard and
You don't
have lorem
understand.
ipsum.
I love this app so much. It's beautiful and it's perfect.
Very good.
Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Listeners, now is an excellent time to check all of your subscriptions and make sure that you aren't paying for something that you don't use anymore. Am I correct in saying this is on the Airtable Universe or a version of it?
It is on the Airtable Universe. You can go
Mhm.
find it. I think it's under Andy Wingrave, not Saastronomical. So where is it? Airtable Universe. You can cut this out. Oh, I went to the wrong bit. No, that's the wrong place. No, Airtable Universe. And it's my most popular one. I had other ones in there, but I've like got rid of some recently. But this one's been downloaded quite a lot, right? Like 99 times, which is not a huge amount, but yes, you can find it under there. And I guess like if you've got, I can send you this link and you can
we'll put it in the description.
Yeah. So that was, I hope I can save you money. If I have saved you any money, then I'm really happy about that. Like I mean, you don't need to tell me or anything, but like if it does end up saving you money, or you need the Zap for it, I can maybe share the Zap for it as well, so that you can put it together. So like you can add your subscriptions in and create a little Zap for you, and then and you've done it all. That's all you need to do. Just wait for the text message of like, hey, do you really need that eHarmony subscription that you bought 2 years ago?
I really love the idea of something working for you just kind of in the background where you don't even have to think about it. You set it up and then it's just, ready and waiting to do what it is that it needs to do.
Exactly.
So we'll put a link to this on the Airtable Universe in the description of this video. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Camille. Thank you very much for having me. And it's been really fun talking to you. And yeah, so I appreciate it.
No problem.